The question on everyone's mind yesterday was, where is Bitcoin going to go? Volume was drying up, volatility was dropping, and the squeeze was on the horizon. Well, I'm sure whatever happened to Bitcoin, you need a squeeze of your own. Come and let me give you a big old crypto hug, because it's time for Chico Crypto. So, why the dump yesterday, and why could it still be dumping today? Well, the markets were preparing for some big things. I talked about the GBTC Grayscale Bitcoin Trust unlocks over the weekend, which began today. Although it's a small amount today, the big unlock is coming on July 18th. But the bigger one is a macroeconomic factor outside of Bitcoin, the CPI data that could be coming out. CPI? This stands for Consumer Price Index. This shows percentage growth or decline in commodity prices across the US. Food, cars, energy, even clothing, aka it's a measure of inflation within the United States. Every month the CPI is updated and the change from the month before is recorded. Did consumer prices inflate or deflate? And if you didn't know, for the past year, consumer prices have been steadily inflating. We had our last release of the CPI data June 10th, and as we can see, inflation has been ramping up, especially within the last 3 months. All items percent increase: March 2021, 0.6, April 0.8, and May 0.6, which puts us at an unadjusted 12-month inflation rate of 5%. So the June readings come out tomorrow, and expectations are a 0.5% increase, which would keep the unadjusted 12-month at about 5%. The last time we reached 5% yearly inflation, back during the financial crisis of 2008, specifically in the same month we are in right now, July 2008. This was before Bitcoin was created. This inflation and money printing the government was doing back then was exactly why Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin. So why are the markets so scared of this? If things are playing out like Satoshi saw, more inflation, more printing of fiat, then that is good for Bitcoin, right? That is something you cannot do with BTC. Well, let's just go back to that inflation chart. As you can see, once it got to those levels above 5%, the government stepped in, crushing it back down. They stopped the inflation in its tracks. So the markets are scared that if the numbers come out higher than the 0.5% expectation, the Fed is going to step in to raise interest rates, aka no more free money for institutions in Wall Street, which some of that money trickles into the crypto markets. There is no denying that. But if they come out lower, that means rates just might stay the same. So the Fed has been trying to calm the markets, not only in Bitcoin, saying this inflation was temporary in May. Then late last month, the head of the Fed, Jerome Powell, said that this too was temporary, this inflation. If they are wrong for another month and inflation is higher than expected, this means inflation isn't going to stop, and the free money party could be over sooner than expected. So what do I expect? Well, the reality of the situation is consumer prices are rising like a madman across the United States. I'm sure you notice it back at your home. I expect inflation to continue to rise, but the government has started something they cannot stop. They won't raise rates. They are going to continue to let consumers suffer while the elite continue to have a fun free money party. Which means if it does come out higher than expected, short-term bad for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin as an asset is getting hit from every corner with bad news. Tesla no longer likes it. It's too energy intensive. China bans what keeps the network running, the mining of the asset with proof of work. Yet the network is still working and actually recovering. Yes, as of yesterday, the hash rate was once again above 100 million terahashes, actually getting to nearly 115 million. Wow, those Chinese miners are quick to relocate, quick to get operations restarted and running thousands upon thousands of miles away. The two major countries where these Chinese miners are supposedly relocating to are Kazakhstan and the US, although according to the media, most of the miners are running to the US.
Since China's crackdown on the mining industry, Su's business is up 200%, shipping out 10,000 miners in the past week alone. from his warehouse in Shenzhen.
There are Chinese miners who are relocating their operation to Texas, to New York, to Nebraska, to North Dakota, where there's big mining operations.
All US states they mention, yet no mention of Kazakhstan, where electricity is cheaper than in the US. Why not restart your operations where it geographically makes more sense? If you didn't know, Kazakhstan borders China. It's a whole hell of a lot closer. Kazakhstan is just over 2,000 miles away from China. The United States is over 7,200 miles, aka 3.5 times farther. Yet for some reason, China is not picking a neighboring country with cheaper electricity and much colder temperatures, which is a big bonus for the heat produced by Bitcoin miners. They are deciding to infiltrate the US. Yesterday, it was announced that Bit Mining, a Chinese big operation based out of Shenzhen, had entered into securities purchase agreements to raise $50 million in a private placement. Who is facilitating this? Well, from the article, a New York-based investment bank, H.C. Wainwright & Company. And from the article, HC said, proceeds are going to be used to acquire additional mining machines, create new data centers overseas, expand its infrastructure, and boost its working capital position. New data centers overseas. New Chinese-owned data centers in the US, and US-based companies are allowing this to happen with open arms, helping get these companies funded. Can you say ridiculous? Bit Mining is already moving into Texas with a data center. The article also states, in mid-May, Bit Mining invested $25.74 million in a cryptocurrency mining data center in Texas to jointly construct and operate the Texas Mining Center with Dory Creek. So why are they calling them data centers and not just Bitcoin mines? Well, these operations don't only do Bitcoin mining, but host enterprise data and more. For example, the largest BTC mine in Texas, Whinstone, does not only do Bitcoin mining, but hosting of enterprise data too. Back in February of 2020, it was announced Whinstone and SBI Crypto, a subsidiary of the Japanese conglomerate SBI Group, had made a strategic partnership together. From the Business Wire press release, it says, SBI Crypto will be one of the first enterprises hosted at Whinstone US's new data center in Texas, being delivered from March 2020. Hosting a business and their operations, which could include Bitcoin mining, but also other things, like hosting of their enterprise data not related to Bitcoin mining. Something smells really suspicious of this great Chinese migration to the United States. And I have a feeling it's just so China grows its powers internationally, being welcomed into the US by money-hungry investors who can't see past dollar signs. Chinese miners aren't being exiled by their government. Their government is putting on a facade of this mining ban, so the US welcomes them with open arms. Bitcoin is more of a threat to the US dollar than a threat to the Chinese yuan or anything else. Bitcoin is China's ally in the fight against the dollar, and they ain't letting go of their biggest ally. They are setting their allies' shop up within US borders. This isn't the first time I've said this either. I made a full video a couple weeks ago on the topic, China FUD is a fake out, where I covered the old reused images of BTC miners being shipped and fake images of mines being torn down. Fake, fake, fake. I recommend you giving that video a watch. It's included in the end screen and in the description of this video. And luckily, I'm not a lone wolf on this. There is another YouTuber, Alex Saunders of Nuggets News, who shares a similar feeling as I. He tweeted yesterday, "That's the third time I've been told the China mining news is all smoke and mirrors. It's not a ban, it's a crackdown on substandard setups that pose a threat to local electrical infrastructure. Most will tick the boxes and get switched back on within a week." So the point of all this is don't believe what you see, especially when the majority of the news is coming from China and Chinese miners. China can never tell the truth. If they do, their government rams them right up the bungholio. Per example, Jack Ma of Alibaba. He criticized the Chinese financial system in late October 2020, and he disappeared for months, like he fell off the face of the earth. You don't tell the truth in China, you say what the government wants you to say. USD inflation is getting out of hand. China isn't banning Bitcoin. Bitcoin is here to stay and become the world's currency. It's here to save us from the bankers and the elite who know the USD's run is coming to an end. Don't let their end make you think it's Bitcoin's end. They want your BTC for cheap. So cheers, I'll see you next time.